Hello all, this is Dswank. I am in Kerbal Space Program. Actually, no I'm not. I am playing Kerbal Space Program, but what I'm in is actually my editing software because, well, the audio I recorded sucked. You couldn't understand me. So all of this episode is going to be post-commentary. So don't really know how this worked out. I kind of chopped out all the boring video, and I may have to chop out more because I don't have much to talk about. However, the goal of this episode is to build a jet boat, and this works out fairly good. I have like 4 or 5 attempts that I try. I remember when I was recording this that I was talking about the speed of meters per second, figuring out 1 meter per second is kind of like 3 kilometers an hour, and equivalent to 2.25 miles an hour. And I finally reached the water, disconnect the crawling device, which I had put together before. I put this boat and the crawler together before before I started recording. And so I have it detached, no damage to the boat. And I'm kind of wrestling with trying to get that menu to go away, and I eventually give up. I should give up pretty soon. Oh yeah, I'm also trying to figure out how to ditch the oxidizer, which I can't really. So forget that, let's go. And I have the thruster effects going, and off we go to the wild blue yonder. Actually, no, because wild blue yonder would be flying. This is not flying, this is splashing. I wouldn't even say splashing with style. I was actually fairly impressed up until that point that the nose was staying out of the water, and then this happens. Surprisingly, it stays together. It is rather loud though. And you'll see the old tried and true process for floating, which was the air intakes. I'm not sure if those are needed now or not. And then stunt boat. And explosions. Because explosions are fun. So I go back to the drawing board. One of the problems I thought with that was the length of the boat. It was too short for the amount of thrust. So I add a longer nose by like 3 pieces and some wing sections onto the front, triangular wing sections, and then on the crawler I add some length and an extra wheel to support it. And here you can see kind of the wings and the extra nose length and things like that. Alright, so we get to the beach, and I'm having some issues with the speed. If I hit the ocean too fast, everything falls apart. It just doesn't work too well. So I'm trying to do the braking by turning, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I run into a much more interesting issue later, but the supports were starting to not be happy there. And boom. And of course thrust up. See what happens. And I believe this one works out fairly well on my for me. the boat seems fairly level. I have plenty of thrust. And we're cruising along actually fairly quickly. But here's when I start noticing the problem. For some reason, it keeps wanting to curve to the left. And so I'm trying to keep the nose up here because, again, it's trying to dive down. And here you can really see it thrust vectoring is like working against me. I have to use the thrust vectoring and everything else, and I still can't keep it in a straight line. So, and as you can see, the nose is starting to dip down. It's an inevitable thing that it's going to either dive into the water or roll or something. So, after waiting a little bit to see if it actually occurs, in a short period of time, I decide to give up on it because I don't have that much time to waste on letting it run in a circle. So, now here we have my final iteration of the boat. I took all the high-end thrusters off of it, high-powered thrusters up on the tail rack. I've once again run into an issue of the wheels getting jammed coming off of the runway. The reason why I don't just run to the end of the runway is it's really steep at the end of the runway, and wheeled things like this tend to fall apart. I could always try and just fling it over there. I've done that before. I could try that again. Build a boat that the wings fly over to the ocean, the wings jettison off, and then you try and land it. Can be interesting. So, all I have are the 4 turbofans, your typical hung under wing jet engines, and then the 3 hyperjet, turbojet, super powerful jet engines plugged on the back. I can't remember them now. It's been a little bit. So here's where I started to run into some issues. I am stuck. No matter how much power I use on the wheels, it's not working. Earlier I had an issue where I ran out of power with electricity. So I thought I'll turn on one of these jets, generate electricity, and it was enough to let me move on my own. Well, what I decide to do here is one is set in reverse and one is set in forward. This is the reverse one. And I got myself out of the sticky situation so I could head towards the beach. And this is actually my most successful run. I do remember to set the thrust control on the engine back correctly. And I disconnect the landing gear as it starts to go insane, or the running. Bring up the jet engines, and it's slow. It's incredibly slow. I'm in the middle of this blah field for quite some time. I think the highest I get this thing up to eventually is 40 meters a second, or 42, or somewhere like that. I'm playing with controls. I actually do have directional control. I put some little wings on top of the hydrofoil, not the thing at the back, and I have some air intakes pointed forward on the nose of these things. But I also believe that despite being in water, the scoops underneath scoop up air, but I'm not sure. Also, the pivot directions don't work as well as they used to for me, so they changed that. Here is where I'm looking at how do I ditch the oxygen, the oxygen part of the fuel. My mind's gone. I'm sorry, guys. But yeah, I'm trying to get this thing to run, and it's not happening. It's just not happening. And so after a bit of messing with this, I start messing with the controls in general, seeing what sort of stuff I can tear up. And, well, it takes a bit, but pretty soon I get the controls done right. I speed it up 4 times and times 4 time acceleration, and it flips upside down and just flies amazingly well. Well, it doesn't really fly, but it's zipping through the water pretty quick. So with that, I end up wondering, well, what would it look like from the Kerbal's perspective? Well, actually, from that, I end up looking at the nose of this thing first, which is actually hilarious after seeing the wiggling here. And there we go. There's a face there. I don't know if you can see it, but it's just, yeah, hello, flying along. And this image just tickles the hell out of me. I don't know why. The audio in the background is annoying as hell. And then Kerbal's point of view, it's all blue. So, I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, go ahead, hit like, subscribe, leave a comment below, and my next goal will be to take this boat into space. So, or at least make it fly. So, until then, bye-bye.